The only science that's settled is the science of psychological manipulation. If you haven't noticed, everything that goes on this planet is some act of psychological manipulation. What we think is school is not school whatsoever. It's the start of how a ruling group psychologically manipulates our children. And in ancient times, when you would mention the word slavery, you would understand that there would be a central house, sometimes what they would call the plantation. And on that plantation, the plantation owner would have to pay for everything. Would have to pay the mother to stay at home, to have the child, would have to pay to rear the child, would have to pay to feed the slaves, would have to pay to transport the slaves. So, the slave owner, the plantation owner, would get 100% of the revenue, but there's a lot of expenses. And what they ended up doing was still enslaving people, but make the slaves pay for their transportation, pay to raise the children, pay for the hospitalization, pay for the time off, pay for the entertainment, pay for the food, pay for everything. So that's what we have today. We have a massive plantation where we're still giving the plantation owners the same cut of the pie, and we're simply paying all the expenses of taking care of ourselves in between bouts of working down on the human farm. Now, the school system is where we pay. So, and we drop our kids off. This is completely based on psychological manipulation on many fronts. Schooling, or what you think is schooling, is the act of getting your children away from you so that you cannot elaborate on a counter narrative to what your children are getting taught. And the government as well has made sure that you don't have enough money to keep your kids at home. That's all by design too. Subpar interest rates to get you, up to your eyeballs in debt. Constant money printing that devalues the value of the dollars that you save and work for. And bingo, bango, bongo, you're earning checks that buy you nothing, and you can't afford to stay home with your children, and then you are giving your children, separating your children from yourself, from your own teaching, from your own values, from your own culture, and sending them into the government school system for brainwashing and indoctrination. Now, none of this could happen unless they convinced you that separating from your child for the majority of the day is the wise thing to do. Now, you don't understand the psychology of that, is your child is terrified each and every day until that child matures, and they'll never mature because they can only mature in the presence of parental strength. This is why most kids today, or most adults today, are very immature, because this is all part of the psychology of exploiting the human animal down here on the human farm. So you have these kids separated from their parents in fear, and then when a child is in fear, they've been shown to repeat up to 20 times more, like they will mimic the lead of the teacher or whoever the authority figure is. The child will mimic the lead up to 20 times more of what the child is being encouraged to do in order to get their rewards or their safety or their gold stars or their Smurf stamps or their 10 out of 10s or their 100% or their A+. This is why you have all these inverted agendas being fired at the kids once they're in school, and you can see that they're firing the same agendas at grade 12s as they're firing at the pre-kindergarten kids, because that's, again, the psychology. The younger you can get the kid away from their parent, the more that child will mimic, emulate, and mirror whatever you teach them in order to find safety, because you're not there, because you're the safety. And the child is in desperate need to reacquire safety, and the only safety the system will give to that child if they repeat on cue what they're told. It's a psychological clusterfuck unlike any other, and that's why our society is collapsing, because there's so many evil agendas being fired at the children in this psychological crossfire. And we've been taught to think that this is all altruistic and it's progressive and it's equitable and it's inclusive, and they will dress up whatever attack they're going to launch at your kids with all the flowery words, trigger words to make you sit your ass back down and shut your mouth as they destroy your children. Keep that in mind. And if you want to know the psychological manipulation behind the destruction of you, the destruction of your children, the destruction of your communities, your culture, your country, your society, get on my private email list. Email me at info@jchristoff.com. This is Jason Christoff signing off from Planet Mental Asylum. Have a great day.